in Florida. I'm Steve Lookner, by the way, from Right Side. We've been covering this awful event that happened at the Florida Fort Lauderdale Hollywood Airport, where a shooter, apparently single shooter, started shooting people at the baggage claim area of Terminal 2. There have been 5 people announced dead, terribly, and 8 or 9 injured at this point. The shooter is in custody. And we found out some interesting details about this shooter. We have heard that this shooter, since we went off the air to take a break about 20 minutes ago, there were actually some an important brand new detail I want to give you. This is an ABC report. An ABC report said that the shooter is Army National Guard Esteban Santiago, and he was honorably discharged 4 months ago. He was last based in Alaska. So he was honorably discharged 4 months ago, and he was an Army National Guard person based in Alaska. And you know what? I forgot, Micah, I forgot my water. Could I grab one of my waters from you? You're going to see Micah in a second, by the way, not just bringing my water. So that's a detail that came out about who the shooter was. Also, thank you, there's another detail that came out was this person, Esteban Santiago, reportedly flew to Fort Lauderdale today from Canada. It was a Canadian flight. I don't know if it was Canadian airline, but it was a flight from Canada. And then also had a checked gun in his bag. And I'm not sure. It seems like perhaps he flew to Canada, then took the gun out of his bag and started shooting people. I can't imagine he had another gun, so let's assume that's the case. That seems to suggest it was very premeditated, because you'd have to think of this before, unless you just sort of decided when you pick up your baggage to shoot people, you'd have to put your gun in your bag, go to the airport, fly all the way here to Fort Lauderdale from Canada, which is a long flight because it's all the way across the country, north-south, and then when you get there, pull out the gun. So lots of questions here, but maybe it was spontaneous. And then there's another thing that happened, and this I want to bring in Micah to talk about this. There's a couple things. I want to ask Micah about the National Guard thing, but I also want to ask Micah, so there's been a tweet going out, which I want to be a good reporter and tell you exactly where I got this, if I can find it. Micah is putting it up now. And Micah, hold on, I have it here. Are we up with it?
It's just the gun.
Oh, it's just the gun. So this was a tweet posted, and okay. So this was posted by Jennifer Mayerly, and this is jennifermayerly.com, at Jennifer Mayerly. That's where we're getting this from. And Jennifer Mayerly, if I check her profile, she is a reporter for WCCO. So at Jennifer Mayerly, and she sent out this photo where it said it's a photo that supposedly, this is Mark Lee of Minnesota told people that he took these pictures. Well, actually, I want to be clear. Supposedly, yes, Mark Lee shared this picture with Jennifer Mayerly's news station, and he said he was at the baggage claim when this happened, the shooting happened, and he shared a bunch of pictures, and one of the pictures is this picture of a gun, which we have on our air now. Okay, and you can find this if you go to Jennifer Mayerly, Jennifer Mayerle, and look at the picture there. And I want to bring in now Micah to come in and talk with me about this for a second, because Micah knows more about guns than I do, and also knows more about the National Guard than I do. So the first thing I want to ask you, Micah, if we can both see us, we good here? Okay. So the first thing I want to ask you, Micah, is this picture. And Jake, maybe we can go full on the picture so people can see it a little better. Yeah, cool. So Jake's going to bring that picture up full in a second. So I just wanted to ask you, let's assume this is the gun of the shooter. I have no idea if it is. It could be somebody else's gun. But if this is the gun of the shooter, what is this? Do you know anything about what kind of gun this is? Because I know nothing about it, so tell me.
Not specifics.
Okay.
Now, from the looks of it, you can pretty much tell it's not a Glock.
Okay.
That's a very common handgun for a lot of people.
Okay.
But there's tons of handgun makers out there, and a lot of them make that similar style.
Okay.
So it's hard to tell just from a picture what exactly it is without it being closer.
Okay.
If it's closer, then you can actually have the identifying marks on it.
So it's a handgun. Does it hold a certain amount of bullets, this version, or do you know? Or something of this size, could you not tell?
It could hold anything between about 8 rounds up to about 15, depending on the size of the gun.
And I'm an idiot, so when you say round, you mean like a bullet kind of thing, or a round of ammunition?
Yeah, so the round is the bullet, including the shell itself. It's all of it together.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, and I interrupted you, so continue if you had anything else.
Yeah, so it could be 9 to 15 rounds, depending on the caliber. Mm-hmm. And for a full-size handgun, a lot of times you would have 15 rounds if it was like a 9mm or
Okay.
or a 38. But if it was like a 45, which is a really higher caliber weapon, then you're only going to be able to fit 8 or 9.
Oh, because they're bigger, the rounds. Okay. Now, I'm noticing in this picture, it looks to me like there's a part sticking out of the back of the gun. What is that? Because I don't know.
Okay, so when the firearm is empty, so
Okay.
when the magazine is empty,
Yep.
it automatically what we call locks to the rear.
Okay.
So it automatically goes all the way to the rear to show that the weapon is empty and that you have no more rounds left.
Okay.
And it also allows for when you reload the magazine, all you have to do is release the handle and it's ready to go.
Okay, that's very helpful. So if this is the gun of the shooter, and if the person shot off all their bullets and then put their gun down or was thrown down and they dropped the gun, it would look like it would be in this position?
Correct.
If it was empty. Because we did hear some reports before that suggested the shooter stopped firing when they ran out of ammunition.
Correct.
So that would be consistent with it. And again, this picture is not confirmed. Nothing about this is confirmed, but we're just assuming for the sake of it that this is a picture of the gun. Now, I also wanted to ask you about this report we got that the shooter is someone who, let me see if I can get this right. They were in the Army National Guard. They were stationed in Alaska, at least that's the last station they were at, and they were, quote, honorably discharged 4 months ago.
Okay.
Now, first of all, just let people know your affiliation with the National Guard. Or you're hold on. You're ROTC? I forget. I'm terrible. Tell me.
I am in the Army National Guard.
Oh, you're in the
now,
you
in
are
the state of Alabama.
So you're in the same organization he was in, or institution, in a different state, or is it two different things?
It's different. So
Okay.
the way Army National, so you have the Army active duty, right? You have
Okay.
the active duty Army, and then you have Army Reserve, and then you have Army National Guard.
Okay.
Army Reserve and active Army, they are federal.
Okay.
National Guard is a state.
See, I never knew that. Okay.
Yeah, so every state has their own National Guard. So
Okay.
Alaska has their own National Guard. And so he was part of the Alaska Army National Guard.
Now, this is one interesting thing I just thought of now is that he flew in from Canada, but he was American, but he was based in Alaska. So if he was in Alaska, maybe he he had friends in Canada, or he had a place in Canada. Like it makes it. It's not like he was. Maybe makes a little more sense why he would come from Canada if he was stationed in Alaska. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm just throwing that out there. So anyways, but Micah, so what is this honorably discharged? What does that mean?
Okay, honorably discharged means you're discharged from the military without any criminal, basically, charge against you. So if
Okay.
you're dishonorably discharged, usually it means you're convicted of some type of felony.
Oh, hold on. So hold on a second. So honorably discharged isn't like you just finished your service and you left.
That
Or could
could
it be?
also be,
Oh, so it could be
yes.
that. So, but it could have been discharged.
For other reasons. Maybe he was overweight, or maybe things like that you can be honorably discharged from the military for not meeting certain requirements.
But if he committed some kind of crime, he could have
committed misdemeanors and stuff like that.
Right.
And could have tacked up and then be like, yeah, you don't need to be in the military anymore. And the
Right.
commander could have recommended for honorable discharge.
Okay.
But in most cases, if they do commit some type of crime, you'll be dishonorably discharged. And that only occurs, though, if you actually go before, not always, but usually before a military tribunal. So it's a little different there.
Okay, and we're getting a little update here. Oh, okay. Soon we're going to have Cassie Dillon come up from Raised Right call in, and well, I'm sorry, did say she was going to answer some? Oh, yeah. So we'll do that in a little bit. So that should be in a few minutes here. So Micah, we know that this person was Army National Guard Alaska. Supposedly we know this, and that they were honorably discharged 4 months ago, which could mean a bunch of different things. But as somebody who's in the National Guard, does that tell you anything about this person or not, or do you have any reaction to this?
It doesn't tell me anything about the person. Obviously, the fact that he committed these acts tells me a little bit about his psychology.
Oh, hold on a second, Micah, because I just want to make sure this isn't Cassie calling me. If it is, but stay. Oh, it's Cassie.
There it is.
No, but don't go. All right. So this is hello, Cassie.
Hello.
Hey, so you're on the air now. This is Cassie Dillon who just called. Micah, stay here with me though.
Yeah.
So you're with Steve and Micah right now. And Jake, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to put your volume up, Cassie. Sorry, so people can hear you. And hopefully people can hear you. Jake, can you let me know if people can hear Cassie? Cassie, just say hi.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so we can hear you. So, anyways, so you're here with me and Micah. And Cassie, first I want to say thank you because earlier today when we were covering this event, we were going through Twitter and like getting the latest updates, and you were really good about posting awesome updates that were really up to date. And so we several times used with attribution, used your Twitter posts to like update the viewers. So thank you for that. So
No problem. I was trying to stay on top of everything. What I was doing was I was watching Fox News. Fox News actually had a caller that was on the air, and he was inside of the terminal laying down on the ground with a sheriff standing over him with a gun, telling everybody if you move, like something's going to happen, like you guys need to stay still, not moving up, don't talk. And so he had to end up getting off the call on Fox News. And then also I had the scanner on, and I could hear them talking about they were looking for victims in the garage, and they were searching around. It was complete chaos on the scanner. It sounded like they had a lack of ambulances. People didn't know what was going on. So all I can describe today was chaos, and it was really hard to stay on top of the thing. So it was great to have the scanner and that witness on Fox News.
So you were listening to like the police scanner or like the EMS scanner or something like that, correct?
Yes. So I recommend to every single person listening right now, when you hear something like this going on, there's a great app. You can just Google or look on your app store and look for police scanner, and you can go to any scanner within the country or even the world and listen to what's going on. It's very useful, and I trust that over the crooked mainstream media any day.
I will say I agree with you, Cassie, because I remember like when the Florida shooting happened, I found a police scanner that was very helpful because like you're just getting the raw feed of what they say. So it's like you're not going to get the information any faster than that. So I want to ask you, Cassie, so just as somebody who was listening to the scanner, like, what did you think of the chaos of the whole thing? Like, did it seem weird to you that it was so chaotic, or like, do you have any general thoughts on like the whole event that you want to like share with people? Because we'd be interested in hearing your take. And by the way, before you say that, just in case people don't know, Cassie co-hosts the show Raised Right with Will Nardi on Right Side, and it's on Thursday evenings. I believe, Cassie, correct me, what time is it? It's what time if they want? 10 o'clock Eastern. So please tune into that if you want to see more of Cassie and Will, and it's a great show. But back to the news. Cassie, what's your take on stuff that happened today? Anything you want to share with our viewers?
So obviously I wasn't surprised that it was so chaotic on the scanner. This is Fort Lauderdale. It's not New York City where they have all these, or even DC, they have these police forces who constantly go through scenarios like this. So I wasn't surprised that it was very chaotic. It happens, you know. There wasn't a second shooter, but they thought there was because there was some loud noise in the garage. And that happens. People are scared. They're not taking chances. They're being overcautious. So it didn't surprise me, but it was really chaotic. They had a lack of ambulances. They had a lack of communication. People were screaming at each other. They were having problems with their different frequencies and trying to communicate. So there was a lot of chaos on it. And if you ever listen to a police scanner, it kind of has like an eerie feeling to it because you're hearing all these people try to remain calm, and they're literally in a situation where they don't know what's going to happen. So I always think police scanners are really good to listen to, but it is very, very eerie. Yeah,
and I know, Micah, you're nodding. So do you agree, Micah, about like the chaos? How did it strike you?
Yeah, so interesting enough, my father does a lot of mass casualty rehearsals with the National Guard.
Oh, wow.
Nationwide. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things he does. And interesting enough, when I watched this, I was thinking to myself, they're doing it all wrong. And what I mean, not all wrong. I mean, they did a lot of good things. The fact that they, still had the active shooter situation, still called it an active shooter until they actually finally cleared. That was good. But like Cassie said, it was very chaotic. And what that told me, and with the frequencies, not knowing who's on where and where everybody is, where all your resources are, what that tells me is that they, as she said, they didn't rehearse this kind of situation to the degree they needed to. They may have rehearsed it inside of the airport. And I'm sure they did. I'm sure TSA requires that to be done. But what probably didn't happen is they didn't rehearse with the sheriff's office, with all the EMS, with the FBI, with the local police department, as well as the airport police. You have to have all the resources that you expect that are going to show up for this kind of situation to rehearse that. And what I saw there was a lot of chaos, as she said, and a lot of, units all over the place and not in any staging area, which is what you're supposed to do so that can respond appropriately. They were just kind of everywhere.
Okay. And Cassie, you want to oh, sorry, Cassie, go ahead.
Can I just interject one more time
Yeah.
before I go?
Yeah.
I just want to say real quick that there was also a lack of communication between the different agencies. You saw the mayor and the sheriff actually say they weren't having good communication with the FBI, and the FBI was not telling them what weapon was used, things like that.
Wow.
In the beginning, so the FBI kind of came over and hijacked the jurisdiction of it. So
Wow.
there's lack of communication between each other and between different agencies.
That's really good information to know. And Cassie, before you go, I know you got to run, but I want to have one last question for you. This relates because I know your show is about like millennials in college these days, and it's conservative millennials, and what the experience in college is like. In your experience, have you found like if you have a conservative view on guns, and I don't want to say like you're pro-gun like in a bad way, but you think like people should have like gun rights and people should be allowed to concealed carry and stuff like this. Is it hard to be that? Do you think it's hard for people like that to be like that on campuses these days?
Absolutely. Concealed carry is always getting a pushback. And I was just hearing reports earlier in my office. I work at campus reform right now, and so I'm hearing things of what's going on campuses. And there was a student who is in concealed carry. I believe this was in Ohio. I'm not sure what state. I think it's Ohio. But he is part of the Students for Concealed Carry, and he was actually just murdered a couple of days ago by a gun by somebody else. And the details of that are still coming in. But, you have things like that happening all the time. And I'm all for concealed carry on campus. And also, this kid who was trying to get concealed carry, he was for it, but he was a few months short of actually getting his permit approved, and I believe it was because of his age. So you have things like this all the time, and you know what? This issue today is going to start a gun debate, because this gun was legal and it was in a check bag. So you're going to hear a gun debate start up, and I just want you guys all to look past that and take everything here with a grain of salt.
Okay, Cassie, thank you so much for calling in, and also thank you for like all your tweets earlier in the day, and you're a great source of news for people who want it. I mean, what is your Twitter handle is what?
It's at Cassie Dillon.
At Cassie Dillon. So please, if you want great information about just breaking news and also just general news issues and current events in general and conservative issues, follow Cassie Dillon. So Cassie, thanks so much. Look forward to your next episode of Raise Right.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
All right, bye. So Micah, that was great to have Cassie call in, and I just want to follow up with you. Mm-hmm. You had said that your dad did work with preparing for mass casualty events. Mm-hmm. And you said that your impression was that they hadn't practiced this enough. Because
not necessarily enough, the extent that they needed to. And what I mean by that is size.
Okay, so you're saying it seemed to you that this whole thing was like bigger in scope of the response than they had practiced. And what specific things, just to go over again, suggested that to you?
So what I saw was, and obviously we didn't see the initial response of the TSA working with the airport police and the airport EMS. We don't see that. But we did see the aftermath. And what kind of showed to me that they didn't really practice to the full extent was where all their vehicles were placed. And all these different shots, you had vehicles just scattered everywhere. And, no line, no order, nothing. And you had units that are just kind of standing around, not really knowing what to do. You had people sitting at corners. I saw one image where it was a SWAT team just sitting at a corner, just kind of standing there like, we don't know what we're doing. And that kind of goes to which Cassie talked about, the miscommunication between the agencies. And it was probably very true that FBI came in and said, we're in charge of this. And the sheriff's like, but I know where all my people are. And at the same time, TSA is saying, I know where my people are. And local police is saying, I know where my people are. And they weren't communicating properly. And it caused this chaotic situation, which is what we saw. Some people were running, some people were sitting still. Mm-hmm. You had people, police telling people to run, and then you had police saying, stay in place. Mm-hmm. And so what that told me is that not everyone was on the same page. And I think, I don't blame the airport itself necessarily, but I think the airport probably did plenty of rehearsals with this kind of situation. And with their, obviously the response was soon enough to actually put the person in custody and not actually in their life, which may garner some more information from this whole terrible situation. But they probably practiced this, inside the airport with the airport police, TSA, and the EMS, but they didn't probably practice it in the full extent of including the FBI, including the Department of Homeland Security, including the local EMS, the county EMS, the emergency medical management agency that usually there's an EMA over a county, and they probably didn't practice this kind of situation.
And we're not saying we're not here to cast blame or anything.
No,
I mean, it's like it's so hard.
Blame is on the shooter. There's no question.
Yeah, and it's like until this actually happens, a lot of times you don't know exactly how, all these factors that come into play. Like maybe you don't know the TSA is going to be there, and the Department of Homeland Security and stuff. And so these people, I mean, they put their lives on the line, and they're all doing the best they can. But I think it's important to discuss this because to prepare for the one. I mean, hopefully there won't be a next one, but this way, the responders can learn from this. And you said an interesting point I want to go back to. You said when you saw the cars, they looked like they were kind of chaotically placed, like the police vehicles and the ambulances. Now, when I see that, I'm just like, oh, well, they rushed there, so they just park wherever. So, but you seem to be suggesting that if things go as planned, even though it's a chaotic situation, the vehicles will kind of be lined up in a certain way.
Correct.
Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, so when any type of mass casualty incident, anything like this, you want to have some type of order in the chaos. So it may be chaotic and the whole situation may be chaotic, but you want to have order in your response. Because if you don't have order in your response, there can be situations where you may even, like they thought there was a second shooter. That second shooter could have been another police officer who maybe thought they saw someone pointing a gun at him and shooting an innocent civilian, and or shooting another officer who's searching the building and thought, oh, that's maybe it's a plainclothes officer and he sees him with a gun and he shoots him. We don't know that. So what you want to see is you want to have a systematic response. So you want quick response, obviously, 100%, but with good rehearsal and good planning, you can have a systematic response to any type of situation. And with the vehicle specifically, usually you want to have some area designated. Maybe it's out on the tarmac in a certain area. Usually you want to have multiple, just in case certain situations, of where all these emergency vehicles from the county and from the local the sheriff, wherever they're coming from, outside agencies, that they know this is where we go and this is where the command tent will be, or the command vehicle, and then we'll be told where to go from there. Instead, what we saw was people coming in from all different angles, basically just parking their car wherever because they wanted to respond heroically, which is what they're trained to do.
Right.
But what happened was there wasn't a staging yet. There was no plan for
I also wonder if part of what made it hard is that, so airport traffic is usually bad in general.
Yes.
If there is a shooter, I'm guessing people booked it out of there. And for all you know, there were people who were parked in front of the baggage claim area who just like left their cars. They might have ran away from their cars, and maybe no one could get by there. I don't know, but it's like I'm guessing.
From the view that we had from all the different news agencies and even our feed, is it showed vehicles in front of the baggage claim and everything, and that makes the response difficult. Which is usually why you want your vehicles, your staging area, to be somewhere else, so you don't clog it up more.
Right.
And not, maybe they had all the police cars staged up here, but here's a person who's been shot and they need to get an ambulance there. We don't know the specifics of the airport plan, and that's a long process that they have to work on. And I'm sure from this experience, they're going to see what they did wrong and what they did right, and then improve on the things they didn't do
Okay,
right.
that's really good perspective to have. I want to just check my Twitter again and see, the updates started coming a little slower, and I want to make sure there's not anything kind of real big that's happened since we've been on the air this time. And I'm going to tell you, let's see here. We had multiple police agencies responding. I see a tweet about that. And doesn't look to me at this point that there's anything that new, but I'll say this. I'll say that we're going to keep an eye on this here at Right Side, and we will, if anything like big happens the rest of the evening, and we're here, I assume we'll be here a lot, so we'll come and bring it to you, and we'll also, we're here to update you, and I wanted to say again, we don't have the fancy multi-million-dollar buildings in our building in the Time Warner Center. Yeah, it would be nice for all of us if we did. But as you can see, we do have the feed. So we had a feed today from AP, and we were able to bring you the exact same press conference footage that you get anywhere else in the mainstream media. So you'll get that with us. But what we'll also bring you here is just instead of people in suits who just give you little sound bites and don't really and aren't I feel like they don't talk about things the way normal people talk about them, and there could be bias or whatever. We're just going to come on and give you all the information we can get from Twitter and from the different news sources and everywhere we can get, and we'll present it to you. And if it's unconfirmed, we'll say it's unconfirmed, because a lot of times major news networks, they never give you the Twitter unconfirmed stuff because they don't want to go out on a limb. But we'll give you the latest stuff we can hear of, and people like Cassie are listening to Scanners, and we'll have people like Micah who know about the military and stuff. And also, I got to say, I don't think if you watched any of the big news networks today, you had people coming on on and like giving the view of people, say, who were gun owners and what they thought about this kind of thing. So we're trying to give you a lot of different views and just let you, just be with you here, have a conversation with you about the stuff that's going on. So we certainly don't want an event like this to happen again.
No.
But any kind of big news event, stuff might happen with President Trump or other countries and stuff. Know that you can come to here and you're not getting like news coverage that's second rate because they don't have the feed the network does. We'll show you the stuff the network shows you visually, but we can give you a lot of stuff that we think you're not going to get on the mainstream media. And we're not taking donations from anybody. We'd have more money if we did. Now, if you'd love to send us a donation, that helps us run rsbn.tv/donate. But just know that we're not like sitting here saying we have to slant our coverage to any kind of big donor what they want. Micah,
bought.
What?
A good way of saying is we're not bought by anyone.
We're not bought by anyone, exactly. Micah, do you have any, before we sort of go for now until whenever, do you have any final thoughts on the stuff from today so far?
I would say, in any type of this kind of situation, you're always taught, you want to flee if you can, you want to hide if you can't flee, and you want to fight. Now, a lot of times that's controversial, especially.
So, could you repeat that again? I want to hear that again.
So you have what they call run, hide, fight.
Okay.
And so that basically means, run away if you can.
That's the most important. If you can do it first, just run away.
If you can.
So if there's like a shooting or something, okay, run away.
Get out of the area,
Right.
police will respond appropriately.
Okay.
And then if you can't run, then hide somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and then fight. But what I would actually say, and it all depends on where you are, and I encourage every single person to go out and get training. And there are places that do training for active shooter situations. To get training in this kind of situation, because you don't know, and we hope it never happens again. But you don't.
I thought I'd never be in one, and then I said earlier today I was at UCLA last year helping to teach a class, and we had one on campus, and we had to lock down the room, and I was like, I can't believe I'm in this situation. So unfortunately, this stuff happens, and it could save your life and other people's lives. So that's very good advice. And I also want to point out one of the biggest parts of this news story we know nothing about, which is this terrorism or not? This is a huge thing, and unfortunately, horribly, so we know 5 people are dead already, 8 injured or 9 injured. It's the last number I heard, and our condolences go out to all those people and all their families. We at Right Side are really sorry about this and feel really bad, and our thoughts are with all of you related to this and who have been affected by this, but. It's a big deal either way, but if it turns out this was terrorism of some sort, and we've seen instances before where people affiliated with our military have done terrorist acts.
Out in Texas.
And I'm sorry, do you want to say a little more about that? Are you familiar with the background? I sort of know, is it the Fort Hood thing? Is that what that was? Was that a shooter? Is that what it was?
It was. It was actually an active duty military personnel who went into basically it's basically where you get ready to go on deployment. It's like a center where you go in and you do all these different processes and things. And that he went in there and opened fire.
So that's active duty.
That was an active duty soldier.
Can I ask, as somebody who's in the military, and you're in the Army National Guard in Alabama, correct? Does it do you find it disturbing at all, or that this person was in the military, and as far as we know, they were in the military, they were honorably discharged, but they had this mass shooting. We have that Fort Hood incident. What do you think when you hear about these different incidents of people who are in our military? When they're in the military, they're supporting our country and protecting our country, having this thing. And I don't know why this person today did it, but do you have any thoughts about that?
I don't know the individuals.
Right.
And I'm not going to throw judgment on maybe even their families.
Sure, I think that's great.
But it is saddening, especially in the military community, to see this kind of thing happen, because what's automatically going to be thrown out is that the military is not doing its job and not looking after their soldiers, or not doing what they're supposed to do, and that's not the case. And you just have people. You have people who aren't, and the sad thing is the military is a reflection of society, and as society goes, the military follows.
So it sounds like what you're saying is don't judge what goes on in the military by certain individuals, even if a couple of them do it. You're just saying hey, in society there are people who say become radicalized, or they just go crazy and they shoot people for whatever, no reason or some crazy reason. And you're saying look, there's so many people in the military, you're going to have that. So don't sit there. Don't immediately say the military is doing something wrong if this kind of stuff happens. See it more as a reflection.
And that goes with the sexual assault thing too.
It's just, military people are people.
We're people.
Yeah, they're Americans like other Americans. So, and I hope it turns out it wasn't terrorism. I'm honestly a bit concerned because I worry about the person. It's not someone who just like woke up one morning and ran to the airport and did this. They flew in and then the thing was in their bag, and it's just such an odd story. And I will say it seems like it was for me. It just feels like premeditated because no, it feels like it could have been just because of the planning aspect. But I know nothing about it. So my point is, I think there's going to be so much stuff coming out about this in the future, and we're gonna follow this for everybody out there, and we will bring you everything we hear about. So again, our condolences to everybody. This is a terrible thing that happened, and we hope we were helpful to you. And I want to say thank you to Micah for all your input on this. I want to say thank you for Jake for all your help today. Jake Seals did a great job, and Brad Savage did an amazing job. He was here before, and Joe Seals and everybody at Right Side. And we'll keep working for you to bring you up to date on the latest in news and bring you lots of programming coming up in the next few weeks. So bye for now. Have a good evening, and we'll see you soon.